Cheech here with Fly Fish Food with Skill Builder number 12. We're going to talk about how we label deer hair. We're going to talk about how to make a fly look like it has a quill body without having one. And finally, the complex twist technique. We're going to show you how to do it.
Dude, that's a big brown bro.
I'm going to show you how to label your deer. Funny joke. Most of this is not deer on the table, but I'm still calling it deer hair because that's what fly tires relate with. Okay?
That was funny.
Sorry, guys. That was awkward. All right. So which is which? I know I've got some X-Caddis hair. I've got some Comparadon hair. I have some elk back strip. And I have some select cow elk brig. It's not that funny. Take a breath. Back to the video. Sorry, people. Here we have deer hair. How do you keep them labeled? I never put them back in the bag because who has time for that? So here's what I do. Boom. This is an cow elk back strap that I said. It's really a back strip, but it's a funny play on words. I wonder what this was. Nature Spirit Select Cow Elk. This one's X-Caddis Deer. This one's Nature Spirit Compara. This is some moose I got from a taxidermist, so it's some rando homeless moose, but I know that he ties really good tails. So anyway, that's how I organize my hair patches. Also, it shows, you know, when you're out there among the real world and you show up with something like this, you know that it's yours, okay? So anyway, just write on it with a marker. That's the easiest way to label your deer hair. I am going to show you the easiest way to make a quill-bodied fly. I love strip peacock quills. They look awesome. The cool thing about them is that they have a really nice stripe. You can see some little perdigons. Hopefully Brigham will be able to focus on those and see what I've been tying. But little quill-bodied flies are cool. It's kind of hard to find them sometimes. They can be very brittle. So I'm going to show you a method that I've been playing with. You've seen me do this quite a bit, but there's a way that you can do it to make it even look more like a quill. So what I've done is I've chosen a 70 denier thread that's flat. This one is a Danville 70. And I'm going to wind it counterclockwise to flatten my thread. And I've done that the whole time that I built this taper on this perdigon. Okay? So I'm going to wrap my thread all the way to the back. And I'm going to unwind it quite a bit, but not all the way when it gets to the back of the fly. So it's kind of flat, but not all the way flat. And I'm just going to take a marker, coat the thread, and I leave a little tag of not coated thread right by the fly because sometimes it widens up a little bit there. So I'm just going to do a turn to cover that up. And now I'm just going to take my thread, and you can see me kind of wiggling it back and forth, and that makes it nice and wide as I wrap it forward. So I'm going to whip finish this, and we're going to show you what this looks like once I put resin on it. And most people can't tell that it's not a quill, and I guarantee that the fish can't tell either. I got some haters under there. You can see that little tiny tag of black against my fingernail. We're going to yeet him out of there. My favorite resin for perdigons is the Solarez Thin. It's thin enough to kind of work itself around the fly, but it's thick enough to not drip and create that nice conical perdigon shape. So we'll just get a bunch of that on there. Let's see, and then that's too much, so I'm just going to move it around. I can take some off if I need to. Okay, so once it's like that, I'm actually going to push a little bit more toward the front. There we go. Now I'm just going to rotate that and let that take shape. And as you can see, that looks just like a quill. Now if you want a thinner line, use thinner thread or twist it up a little bit more, but that's the best way that I've found to make a quill-like body without actually using quill. The complex twist technique. So this is kind of like one of those where I just started tying it this way, and it was easier to say complex twist than woolly bugger with long chenille with eyelashes on one side, twist it up with schlop, and before you wrap it on a woolly bugger. Okay, so we just call it a complex twist. Yes, this was heavily influenced by, the guys up that do the compound loops, old Jerry French. Like, that's some skill there. So props to those guys. That's what kind of spurred my ideas on these. But anyway, we're essentially going to twist up two fibers without them being in a dubbing loop. There's no need for a dubbing loop here. We're going to twist up this piece of chenille and this piece of schlappen. They both have cores in them, so we don't need thread in the core. So let's just get these tied in, and I'll show you the way that I like to do it. So I'm going to take just this piece of chenille, and it doesn't matter if there's a bulky tie-in point on the back of this fly because the body's so bulky on its own. And then you can see this piece of schlappen. You hear this all the time. Oh, the schlappen in the bag looks terrible. Guess what? It's going to move all the same in the water because this is a soft fibered feather. It just kind of goes all over the place. That's the way it's designed. So if it looks bad in the bag, don't worry about it. All right, so I'm going to take a section on the tip of this feather and tie this in. Okay, here's a little tip. If you want to not reach for your scissors, just tie it up and then pull it back over and tie it back down. All right, so there we have a mega tied in feather, and I'm going to take my thread all the way back to the back. Okay, so we're ready to start forming this complex twist. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this tool. This is the Gator Grip tool from Loon. There's a yellow one and there's a black one. Okay, I've got the Gator Grip tool on this one, and I have the shepherd's loop on the other one. They both come in the package. To switch them around, you just unscrew this and you screw it in. So it comes with the body and two of the tips. All right, so the reason this came to be is old Matt Calise was working at Loon, and I had been building something very similar to just this with a post and like a little electrical ring so people could take their dubbing twisters and spin them up. So Matt Calise took it to the next level and made this ring pop looking contraption. Now this is pretty dang cool because, not only is it a great dubbing twister because it's got a lot of weight and it's round. So the bigger the diameter is on these things, the more momentum they're going to give when you twist them up. So this little knob on the bottom is critical, and that's what all the good dubbing twisters have, in my opinion, because you need something like a top where you can grab it and twist it with your fingers without having to sit there and move a crank or something like that. So critical on that as well. And then once you have this tied in, you can stick your finger in here and use that to wind things around. So it's a very well thought out tool. With this one, I'm going to open these up, and I'm going to just clamp this on, say, down here-ish, okay? Now, you can't get too gnarly with this bad boy because this is a feather, and it can break, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this excess because it's just going to want to twist all up. Now, here I have this in my finger. You notice that my finger is on this little piece of wire here. That's there on purpose, okay? Because on a dubbing loop, it's hard to spin it when it's vertical because this is really long. And you can't put your finger up here like on a normal dubbing loop, so you need to have a place to brace your finger. So I like to do it right here. So now it's going to do like 3 or 4 or 5 turns, and it will stop. And you notice here in the middle, it's all matted down. Fancy comb comes in, whatever comb you like. If you have an awesome mustache like Brigham, you probably got like 6 or 7 in your pocket. Just kidding. This would be like way too much for that mustache. So now check this out. Even with that tiny little bit of work, and while I was ripping on Brigham, we created this really awesome, complex piece of who knows what that's going to make a great streamer. So I'm going to twist it up maybe 3 or 4 more times. You notice how lightly I'm going with the twist. If you twist it up too much, it will break. Okay? So I really like a rotary vise for this. So I'll just take my thread, move that forward, move it out of the way again, And now I'm just going to hold this with my finger and wrap this rotary style. Okay, wrap it right up the hook. We'll stop right there. So it's really, really messy right now. I'm just going to cut this off, trim it, and cut it off for you so we can show you how it turns out. All right, so not much waste, but you'll get good with how full you like these to be. I have a slotted tungsten cone on this, and I'm really liking how the schlappen and the chenille are playing with each other. Very little is trapped down, even with that gnarly rotary wrap. Okay, now I'm just going to show you how to complete this fly since we're here anyway. And see this big gap right here on the bead? I'm going to try to close that up. All right. So, bruiser blend. This looks like a fresh bag because I haven't cut off the corner yet. I'm just going to farm out some bruiser blend. We did a skill builder on what's called the clump dub technique, and that's what we're going to use here. We're going to take this, preen this with our fingers, trying to get it going exactly the same direction. Just like that. And we're going to actually take it one last time. We'll do that one more time. Pull it apart and then stack it on top of each other. Okay. So now I've got a pretty nice little stairway of dubbing that's going to go on this fly. So once I have it, I'm just going to place that right on top. Kind of curl and wrap that around. Loose thread wrap through there and then yank it tight. And then just keep wrapping. And then we'll end up throwing a little whip finish on that. Now, the whole fly kind of comes into play now when we comb this all together. So we're going to comb this out. This is a great bugger in rivers where you need it to push water. We have videos on this fly on our channel, and even an articulated version that doesn't get the love that it deserves. So that is the complex twist technique. You can do it with all kinds of materials, and I highly encourage you to go out and get creative with it.